Alright, we've got another video on frame bracing. Just going to go over a couple things. I'm going to use the Supermod Twin as an example. I could use that one. It's just way too dark to see it. I'm going to cover a few things, but I don't think I'm going to be able to show you. First of all, let me tilt this one up on its side. There we go. Tilt it up. Got it set up like that so the Nerf bar catches it, so it's easy to work on at the track. There we go. And we're good. Alright, basically, this whole frame, what you want in a racing frame is you want something that's rigid. It's not going to flex throughout corners. This right here, it's a Troy-built frame. It's a 2012 Troy-built frame. Basically, it's a stock frame. The only exception is the whole inside has got 3/4 inch, 16 gauge square tubing throughout it. As you see, I basically made my own frame inside of the actual lawnmower frame. It runs from the X brace in the back all the way to the front brace, and it does the same thing for the top, runs all the way across. Now this is 3/4 inch square steel tubing, 16 gauge, and that alone is enough to brace a frame. But what would really help this chassis is this big old foot brace. It's to hold the diamond plate footrests. I don't have it bolted down yet, but it's basically to hold that up and to place to mount the Nerf bars. And it's welded directly to the bottoms of the frame here on all corners. And that made it really rigid. And the thing is, I know you want a light frame. You do, you really do, but you don't want it so light that it's going to flex going through corners and driving it. You don't want to sit on it and then have someone be able to pick the left front up and twist the frame. You don't want that. Now this, it's really braced to the point there's absolutely no flex in it whatsoever, but it's extremely light. With the motor and everything in it, yes, I don't have the fenders on it or the gearbox in it or the chain and the brake and all that. But that I would estimate that only adds an extra 50, 60 pounds. You know, except for the motor. The motor is, 90 pounds altogether. Now, this is still extremely light to pick up and move it around. Like, I can literally pick the whole thing up with one hand and move it around the garage all over the place. Now, the main point behind bracing is you don't want it to flex. If it flexes around a corner, it's going to throw off your handling characteristics. It's not going to handle the way you want. There's a need for flex, and there's sometimes not a need for flex. And for this application, I want no flex at all. This chassis is pretty much set up as a dirt track sprint car with no suspension. It's got a lot of caster roll in it. It's got a lot of camber in it. It literally, like for instance, if I take a left turn with it, it literally picks up the inside tire a good 2 inches off the ground at half lock. Full lock, it's 3-4 inches. It picks it up a good amount. Now, I changed that all by adjusting the caster on the front end with the Heim joints here. But as you start making the mower, different things you add onto it will add flex. Not add flex, but will take away flex. Like the whole front axle was welded into the front plate. That took away a lot of flex because that's a 1 1/4 inch 16 gauge steel square tubing beam for the front axle. Very strong. The whole steering system on it, the over the top steering system, again 3/4 inch 16 gauge steel top 1/4 inch plate, all the way back to again 3/4 inch steel 16 gauge, and a 1/4 inch top plate to hold the Heim joint for the top steering. Now, all this is welded directly to the chassis itself. Now, all this prevents it from flexing. It's very strong. And this is pretty much what you want for a racing mower chassis. Some guys want flex, some guys don't. I don't like it because it will throw off handling characteristics pretty quite easy. My red mower, I've got videos on the V-twin mower build. That one has a significant amount of flex. It doesn't handle quite well. It kind of glides through turns. The only way to drive that one is to gas it. You have to pound the gas pedal down and make it spin and slide sideways to get it to turn. Other than that, they'll just plow right off the track. But this is pretty much how I braced my chassis. These two are pretty much set up the same. I'll go into depth on those a little bit. The mod XR is the whole frame has got angle iron through it, 16 gauge angle iron through both sides of the frame. It's a C-channel frame. Come to a center plate that crosses over in the front. It's angle iron throughout the whole thing. That's pretty rigid. This one's got an inch of flex in it, but it still handles good. And again, it's got a fully adjustable front end on it, the heim joints and everything. The super stock over here, loaded in crap again. The only frame bracing to this is the front axle beam welded with 2 cross members, and it's got one piece of 3/4 inch steel in the middle of the frame. Now, what I did to reduce the flex in this, when I built this chassis, I put weight on the 2 front wheels and I picked up the left rear tire with my hand, and I looked at where the chassis was flexing and I added tubing there to reinforce it. But again, it depends on the application you're using it for. This is a super stock mower. You really aren't going that fast. Again, 23, 24 mile an hour tops, 8-to-1 gear ratio, 3650. Frame flex is not really going to be an issue with this. Now, when you get into these classes, Mod XR, again, 3650 governed, but it's an open gear ratio. You're still, in my opinion, you're still flying around the track as fast as the guys on the CP class and the SP class. You know, there's really no difference. You don't want to have a lot of flex because you're going faster. You don't want a lot of flex. Now, one thing I learned with racing, when you have a significant amount of flex in your chassis, you tend to bicycle the corners a lot more. By me saying that, I mean you're going to go up on 2 wheels a lot more because your chassis is trying to flex through corners and it's binding up going through a corner, causing it to go up on 2 most of the time. And not all that's caused from you entering the corner real hot. Because if you can enter a corner, or what I've always seen is people go onto the track and the whole frame, you could see the whole frame twist coming over a little hill to get onto a track, or just pulling it out or through the pits where it's real bumpy. You can literally see the frame twist. Now, what I like is seeing those frames that are really braced and well built. When they're leaving the pits or going onto the track, let's say they go on an angle. One of those tires is going to be airborne, either the front or the rear, because the frame is so braced. It's got no flex in it. If you've got a bump and you try going over it, and it's got flex, all 4 tires are still going to contact the ground because the chassis is flexing to compensate for that hill or that bump. Now, if it's braced, you're going to have no flex, and the chassis is not going to compensate because it can't, because it's so braced and so well built, it's going to stay straight and go over that. That's what you want for racing, in my opinion. But again, everyone's got their own opinions for racing. Everyone does something different. It pretty much comes down to whatever works for you. And that's pretty much what this video was about. You can do whatever you want, whatever works for you. It's a trial and error process with building racing mowers. That is all it is. One thing worked, that didn't. One thing works, that didn't. That's all I've done. And I've done this for about 3 years now. Yeah, I know, a long time, right? 3 years. And I've done stuff. I built chassis. So far, I've built one. Okay, the super stock, the other super stock, which was wrecked terribly. This one, the red mower. This one, and another. About 6 racing mowers. A few casualties that never made it. But the first one I built was a load of crap. I'll probably put an image in at this part right now. It was a load of crap super stock. It handled like junk. It did nothing. I won once or twice with it. That was it. It was junk. Then I got in an accident and ended up rolling it, and it got wrecked. Turned out for me that was a saint's call because I had a chance to restart. I pretty much scrapped that frame. The only thing I kept from it was the motor, which is in this one here. And, excuse me, went out, got this off a guy who fixed lawnmowers. the thing was, it had an 18 horsepower post twin in it. Motor was destroyed. The whole inside of the motor was cascaded. Rods were gone. Crank was destroyed. Everything. And it was just a chassis. Well, I thought, hey, I had the mower to throw on. I had a motor to throw on it. Tranny. I had all the parts left over from my original super stock that I'd put this one together. And when I built this one, I used the knowledge that I learned from the original one I built and how crappy that one was and made this one. And this one's a damn good handling chassis. Other people have rode it. They've said the same thing. It handles awesomely. Now, that's all this sport is. Trial and error. Figure out what works, what doesn't work, what works for you, what you feel comfortable doing. No one out there, I can guarantee you this, no one out there has got the exact same stuff as you. This isn't NASCAR IROC Series, something like that. No one has got the exact same chassis, the exact same motor, the exact same stagger, the exact same tires, everything like that. It's all about what works for you. If you can find a combination that works for you, good for you. Stick with that combination and go out there and kick some ass. That's all that it's about. That's what makes this sport great. You can come out there with whatever you want, as long as it meets safety rules, but come out whatever you want, no matter what kind of style chassis it is, no matter how it looks. It could be rusty, it could have dents in it, and no one cares. If it's safe, you race it, you have a good time, you maybe win or two, it's all fun. That's all what it's about. And that's pretty much my video / rant I kind of went on there. But that's why I do it. It's hilariously fun. The people you meet are great. I have a blast building these things. These things are just a joy to build. I mean, they're just a load of fun to build. And to race and show up at the track, yeah, that's, of course, fun. And it's a lot, like I always say to everyone else, they say, why do you do it? One, it's fun. Two, it's a lot cheaper than racing cars or drag racing or going out on the street and street racing and then getting arrested, getting a ticket. You know what I'm saying? Not like anyone done that or nothing. Cough, cough. But, it's just fun. It's outrageously fun. You can ask, mowers stomping.